Terima kasih Dr. Zulman. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sejahtera kepada semua sahabat-sahabat akademik pensyarah Unit 10. Kita dapat bersama lagi pada pagi hari Khamis. Hari Khamis saya berada di Unit 10 pada hari ini. Selalu hari Khamis saya tak ada di Unit 10 ya. Tapi hari ini saya ada di office. Dan very excited, teruja untuk berkongsi bahagian keempat dan bahagian terakhir daripada buku How Learning Works. Ya. Terima kasih kepada semua sahabat yang dapat bersama pada pagi ini. Saya share skrin sekejap. Okey, Dr. Zaman boleh nampak ya?
Boleh.
PowerPoint, okey. Jadi pada pagi ini saya akan cuba menamatkan ya khatam buku yang bertajuk How Learning Works, 7 Research-Based Principle for Smart Teaching, Part 4. Mungkin sebahagian yang ada di sini atau mungkin semua juga telah mengikuti 3 bahagian yang sebelum ini. This is actually a big book lah, buku yang besar, dan kalau kita nak baca sendiri page to page, cover to cover tu mungkin memakan masa. Jadi apa yang saya telah buat, sebab saya dah baca atau khatam buku ni at least 2 kali ya, saya rasa 3 kali ya. Memang saya minat sangat dengan buku ni. Basically I love the book. I read the book. I have applied some of what I have learned. So the value of this book saya rasa amat besar. Kalau tidak dikongsikan kepada rakan-rakan kita, saya rasa amat merugikan. Jadi apa yang saya buat, saya telah bahagikan kepada 4 bahagian. Bagi mereka yang terlepas 3 bahagian sebelum ini, jangan bimbang, boleh tonton di TLC, Facebook TLC, rakamannya, dan juga di TLC YouTube channel. Jadi tadi sebelum kita mulakan, bagi mereka yang baru join ni, saya bagi pihak TLC ingin memohon kerjasama semua sahabat-sahabat semua, sokonglah program-program TLC dan bantulah TLC untuk kongsikan link rakaman dalam YouTube channel dan kongsi juga channel kepada link kepada TLC channel tu, dan juga FB TLC, link kepada FB TLC, kongsilah melalui social media masing-masing. Ya, bayangkan saya kata tadi, kalau 200 daripada 400 staff Unit 10 berbuat demikian, betapa dengan mudahnya aktiviti TLC, aktiviti Unit 10 ini dapat dikongsikan, dapat dilihat, make it visible to the public. Jadi kita nak bantu Unit 10 untuk make it more visible, dan kita boleh memainkan peranan kita masing-masing in our little way. Jadi boleh ya, saya mohonlah kerjasama bagi pihak TLC, bagi pihak Unit 10. Dengan usaha kita ini, saya dah nampak hasilnya. Macam saya share dengan Puan Zai, dengan Dr. Zulman, dengan TLC people recently. Saya bersembang dengan someone last week from another university. Dan suddenly dia kata, wah, sekarang ni Unit 10 dah semakin visible ya, semakin aktif ya, nampak webinar-webinar yang bagus-bagus semua di-sharekan dalam Facebook. So saya pun terkejut juga. Oh ya ke?
Alhamdulillah.
Ya, happy betul lah. Itu sebab terus saya share dengan TLC. Jadi dah mula nampak hasilnya tu. And we can do more. Kita boleh lipat gandakan 10 kali lagi. Saya nampak banyak benda lagi kita boleh buat ya. Jadi itu untuk permulaan lah, tolonglah kita bantu sama-sama ya. InsyaAllah hasilnya nanti akan dapat kepada Unit 10, dapat kepada kita, dengan usaha kita tadi tu sedikit sebanyak akan dapat semula. It will come back to us in many different ways. Believe me, yeah. Alright. So I want to show this slide again. Ini adalah quote daripada buku ini. To me it's very powerful word. that we have to keep in mind ya, sebelum saya masuk kepada prinsip yang kelima, 6 dan 7. 3 prinsip yang kita nak cover hari ini, kita akan cuba habiskan pada hari ini, insyaAllah. So, when it comes to teaching, most of us are still learning. Every one of us are still learning, including me, yang dah retire ni pun. I know there's still much more that I need to learn, and learn from everyone. So teaching is actually a complex activity. And kita ni bukan from education background. Some of us are engineers, some of us are, from science, pure sciences, applied sciences. I'm from applied science. We don't have a formal training in pedagogy. Most of us have not received formal training in pedagogy. But that should not be the excuse. We need to learn. We need to acquire the skill, the knowledge of pedagogy to help us to teach more effectively and to help students to learn more effectively. Furthermore, teaching is a highly contextualized activity because it is shaped by the students we have, advancement in our respective fields, changes in technology, and so on. So meaning that teaching is a dynamic activity, dynamic process. Everything changes all the time. We have a different cohort of students, different batch of students will behave in different ways. And our subject matter is also changing. There are also new things, new development, new progress, especially in computer science, especially. Banyak benda baru yang berlaku. Yeah? So we have to keep up. And we have to make sure that whatever that we bring into the class, the teaching part, is contextualized to the current situation, is relevant with at least for the current situation. Therefore, our teaching must constantly adapt to changing parameters. Walaupun kita mengajar subjek engineering contohnya, tapi we should be aware of what's happening around us when it comes to teaching and learning. We should be aware of the present, the emerging trends, emerging technology, emerging strategies in pedagogy, and the future. So there are 3 things there: present, emerging, and the future. So in order to do that, the best way is to read. But there are other ways, maybe a shortcut. Attend programs by TLC, where TLC will bring the experts, the best speakers from all over Malaysia especially. And this webinar or short course or workshop basically will distill only the essential things that we want to know. We want to learn something practical that we can immediately apply in our classroom. So that's a shortcut. So why not? I would, always encourage people, invest 1 or 2 hours of your precious time so that you can learn something. At least when you attend the session, if you really focus, you get a fresh perspective, you get a new kind of semangat, motivation. And if you keep doing that every week, every month, so it's kind of putting you at that level where you always feel excited and motivated. Sebab dia macam ni jugalah, kalau dalam Islam ni kita kata iman kan. Iman kita ni ada pasang surut kan, Dr. Zulman? Kan? Ada pasang surutnya.
Betul.
Kadang-kadang, ya, bila kita semayang, wirid kita bukan panjang, doa kita bukan main panjang. Ada kalanya wiridnya pendek, doa pun pendek-pendek, semayang pun tak khusyuk. Macam tu lah. Sama juga macam kita punya teaching ni macam tu juga. We want to put ourselves in the circle of positive people, passionate people that always talk about how to improve the teaching. Always talk about issues in teaching and learning. Always exchange ideas and opinions. Always willing to share new things and so on. When we put ourselves in that kind of circle, surely kita akan improve. Surely, almost certain. It's all about the circle of peers that where we put ourselves in. So that's the message that I want to basically deliver this morning sebelum kita move on. So now let's go direct to principle number 5. Yeah, principle number 5, because we have covered from out of 7 principles, we have covered 4. So if you miss the previous part, just watch the recording, and hopefully maybe TLC also.
Saya dah bagi link, Prof. Saya dah bagi link. Siapa nak tengok recording tu dah ada dekat YouTube.
Dalam chat, ya.
Dalam chat.
Thank you so much. Tapi itu 2 jam lah ya. Tak larang nak tengok 2 jam. InsyaAllah nanti kita akan potong kepada segmen-segmen pendek yang fokus kepada certain prinsip ke konsep ke, supaya kita boleh buat segmen yang lebih pendek, like 10 minit, 5 minit macam tu. InsyaAllah ini semua usaha yang berterusan. Now, principle number 5 from this book adalah what kinds of practice and feedback enhance learning. Keep in mind, remember, all these are actually have been shown to work. So these are actually accumulated knowledge from all the research that have been done and proven to work. So now principle number 5 is about practice and feedback, which is very important. Basically, closing the loop. Closing the loop. Kita dah plan, kita dah design, kita dah deliver, kita dah buat macam-macam assessment. Jadi sekarang kita nak close the loop, meaning that we want to ensure students have achieved the learning outcome. They have understood whatever concept, principles that they're supposed to learn, they're supposed to know, they're supposed to understand, and then they are and now whether they are able now to apply that, going to the higher level of Bloom taxonomy. This is where we need the practice, and so we need to create in our course design opportunity, rooms for students to practice. And this practice can happen during the classroom or outside the classroom. And that can be part also of the student learning time as well. But we need to put in and design it purposely into our course design. Allow students to practice, yeah. And also feedback. Feedback here means that we need to provide feedback to the students, and this feedback can be in many different forms. So the real learning would happen when we have practice and feedback integrated into our course design. But what kind of practice, what kind of feedback that would really enhance learning and reinforce learning? So it's all about enhancing and reinforcing, mengukuhkan, memantapkan pembelajaran pelajar. So practice and feedback reinforce learning. That's a key word. Reinforce, enhance learning. So practice, practice, practice. And feedback. So we get the feedback in many different ways so that we know whether the students have learned whatever they're supposed to learn. We also get the feedback in terms of the emotional state, whether they are happy, whether they are still feeling, not very happy, unhappy, or they are, because this is very important when we look into the emotional part in principle number 6, principle number 6 later on. Okay. And when we talk about practice, some of you probably have read this book. I suppose it's a very, very popular best-selling book, Outliers, by my favorite author, Malcolm Gladwell. He has written, he has written the book Outliers, Tipping Point, macam lagi. So in the book Outliers, when Malcolm Gladwell says something about the importance of practice, the 10,000 hours rule. 10,000 hours is the amount of practice you must put in to attain mastery. Of course, there are some people argue and debate about this, but to me that is secondary, very important. But the main point here, whether it's 10 hours or 10,000 hours or 5,000 hours or 1,000 hours, it simply means that we need to do more, we need to practice more. But the more you practice, the more you you have the mastery. You become more fluent, more proficient, and therefore able to do it more efficiently. So this is from the book of Outliers. To just to point out or to stress the importance of doing the practice. So once we understand this, when we design our lesson, our course, we must create that space or rooms or opportunity for students to practice. So this basically, sometimes we call it drilling, right? It doesn't have to be like drilling in the sense that we want the students to do it again and again and again, but at least there are some rooms for them to try to, let's say, give them a different set of problem, similar problem, and let them try to solve the problem, so that now we want to see whether they are able to apply the concept, the principle, the equation to solve a problem in different contexts. So that is the so-called the transferable skill, the ability to apply, the ability to contextualize, the ability to synthesize, and so on. So the 10,000 hours rule says that if you look at any kind of cognitively complex field, from playing chess to being a neurosurgeon, we see this incredibly consistent pattern that you cannot be good at that unless you practice for 10,000 hours, which is roughly 10 years, if you think about 4 hours a day. Okay, so I think probably to make sense of this, to apply in based on our experience, when we teach, that's why some people say the best way to learn is to teach. So I'm sure you can relate this. It's very relatable, kan? The first year of teaching, now you are in the 10th year of teaching. If you're teaching the same subject, you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Repeat the same course again and again and again. Teach the same course and again and again. Students ask different kind of questions on the same topic, on the same concept. So sometimes students give a different totally different questions that never before previously students asked. So you sometimes you can answer because you're the expert now already, but sometimes it's really never thought of it when you try to find out. So that actually making us, the lecturer who teaches a subject, become more and more expert, right? So we can experience that. So that 10,000 hours to me simply means that the more we practice, the more students practice, the more they are able to understand the concept to a deeper level, and then they are able to now contextualize it or apply it in different situations. That's what we want. Okay, so from the book, what does it say about the practice? Yeah, so we can see this diagram. We have the goal. So when we design the practice part for the students, you must remember and must be very clear the goal. And the goal, of course, can be linked to the learning outcome. So the goal is clear, because we want the student to practice so that they can achieve whatever goal, focusing on a specific goal or criterion for performance. So we have the goal, and we have the set performance criteria. That's basically, defined by the rubric that we have. So ultimately, we want the students to reach that performance level. So we want to design the practice so that we can take them from one level to the next level until to the performance level that we want them to achieve. So then when they start to practice, we observe their performance. So we have the set criteria. So observe their performance. Then we give them a targeted feedback, not general feedback, but very specific targeted feedback based on what they have done and level of performance. Okay, and then that will guide them to do more practice. Guides further for more practice. So targeting an appropriate level of challenge relative to students' current performance. And being of sufficient quantity, how much practice we want to give them. They have only, that amount of time. And the student learning, the independent part of learning also, student learning time also, we don't want to exceed that, because too much will become cognitive overload. So being of sufficient quantity and frequency, how much and how frequent, how many times. So student skill and knowledge have time to develop. Okay, because we want to take them, from scaffolding into more advanced level, step by step. So the metaphor of, going up the ladders step by step to me is very, very, very relevant here. Yeah. So that's basically what from the book, the key point that I've put here. So key features of effective practice. So what does it take to ensure that the practice is effective? Both content and timing. Timing penting juga ya. Determine the effectiveness of feedback. It should communicate progress and subsequent direct effort. The feedback that identifies specific items that need improvement will aid learning more than a mere indication of error. Unfocused feedback can be counterproductive by overwhelming the student and failing to direct effort well. So if you give only general feedback, it's not going to be useful. Then here, the feedback identifies specific items that need improvement. What is the easiest way to do this? How do we know what are the gaps that we need to address so that we can target our feedback on that areas? So if you have seen previously, but maybe I'm going to demo again, we use technology tool, digital tool like Socrative. Some of you probably have seen. So Socrative to me is the best tool that can help us to identify the learning gaps, the weak areas that we need to focus on, so that now we can design the practice, give problems, quizzes, whatever to the students to target on the weak areas. Macam tu, ya. Nanti kita akan tengok contoh. So generally, more frequent and more rapid feedback is better for learning. Delayed feedback can be useful in helping students learn to recognize and correct their errors. So there is sometimes we want to give immediate feedback. Sometimes we can delay the feedback. So based on our experience, we can find the correct timing for us to give the feedback, whether immediate. Some maybe require immediate feedback. Sometimes maybe delayed feedback to wait for everyone to catch up, for example, to allow everyone to give everyone to opportunity to kind of filling in the learning gap through their self-learning, self-reading. Then after some time, when we find that the gap is still there, how do we know? Sometimes after we give the first test, second test, we can see, still the performance areas that is problematic there. And then we can give the feedback after that. So it can be immediate, can be delayed. Okay? So I think this is very key, very important and critical to us to understand this. Of course, there are more details in the book, but to me, these are good enough. Okay, so before we go to principle number 6, let me show you. Okay, Socrative, yeah, Socrative just now. first I want to show you how we can use Socrative to give feedback to the students. So I will log in as a teacher. So now what I want to do, I want to design a quiz for the students, MCQ in this case. And then when the students do the quiz, and this can happen before they come to the class or after the class for reinforcement. But when they do the MCQ, after they answer the question, whether the answer is correct or incorrect, they will get a feedback. Yeah, they will get a feedback for that question. So this is one way, one way of giving feedback. And this can happen asynchronously. You don't have to be there. Okay, so how do we do this? So first of all, I want to prepare the questions. So this is where ChatGPT can make your life easy now. So I have the example here. So this is my instruction. For those who are not familiar, well, I think most of you are familiar already. Any one of you are not familiar with ChatGPT? Maybe in the chat, if you can say no, not yet, maybe at least I can get some idea. So this is where the simple way, my instruction to ChatGPT. Okay, act as a teacher. You will teach a topic on just example here, technology for solid waste recycling. Prepare 5 MCQs at levels 1, 2, and 3 of Bloom taxonomy. So I want 5 questions at this level. For each question, this is where the important part is. Provide feedback to the student to help with their understanding. So, okay, so sure, ChatGPT never disappoint you, never disappoint us. Yeah. So level 1, remembering, understanding. Which of the following is a primary objective of solid waste recycling? A, B, C, D. Okay, feedback. The correct answer is D. All of the above. Then this is the feedback. Yeah. Then the same thing for level 2, applying, analyzing. So this is a question, this is the answer. The correct answer is B, and this is a feedback. So now how do I put this in Socrative? Very simple. So I want to create a quiz. New quiz. Well, this one, demo unit 10. MCQ. Copy the question from ChatGPT. So let's say I take this question, for example, only. Quick one, okay. A, very easy, quick and easy. You don't have to crack your head so much. Crack your brain. Okay, landfilling. Okay, so the correct answer is B. Okay, so the correct answer is B. So I tell Socrative this is the correct answer. Then add explanation. This is where you put the feedback. So okay, you put the feedback. Okay, this is the feedback. Okay. Right. Okay. So I can continue to create more questions. But for this demo, that's enough. Okay, now I save and exit. Okay. This is a quiz. Now I want to launch this quiz. I will launch the quiz. This one. Requires name, show feedback, show final score, open navigation. Open navigation means instant feedback. In this case, instant feedback. Because when the students answer the question, they will get a feedback. So I will launch this. So everyone, can you go to socrative.com just now, and then log in as student login, and then socreative.com, yeah? And then put the room number. It will ask you for room number, IMK209, yeah? IMK209. And then answer the questions. After you answer the questions, see whether you will get the feedback. Okay? Alright. Dapat feedback tak? Dapat feedback tak dapat feedback?
Belum lagi Prof, baru je masuk.
Baru je? Okay, tak apa. Siapa yang dah buat tu dah dapat feedback tak? Nick. Dr. Nick. Dapat feedback tak Dr. Nick?
Dapat ke?
Dapat ya?
Yes, dapat.
Macam best tak? Itu satu cara bagaimana kita boleh design quiz untuk student. Ini kalau kita buat flip classroom ya, maknanya student boleh buat ni sebelum dia orang datang kelas. So kalau kita bagi 5 soalan. 5 soalan tu 5 soalan mesti kita jajarkan, kita align dengan learning outcome yang student nak capai dalam kelas nanti. Dia dah cover main aspect dalam topik yang kita nak cover nanti. So bayangkan bila student buat 5 soalan ini, mungkin dia kena baca dulu, dia kena study dulu. Kan? Ataupun kalau dia malas sangat, dia hentam aja. Tapi dia hentam sekalipun, soalan jawapan dia betul ke salah ke, dia akan dapat feedback. So mau tak mau dia dah dapat belajar sikit. Dia dah learn something from the quiz. This is to me the easiest way to give feedback. So ada any thought, any comment? Boleh tak ada one or two of you bagi komen cara kita bagi feedback ni? Anyone here nak share some thought on this way of giving feedback to the students? Any comment?
Salam Prof.
Ya, Waalaikumsalam. Siapa ni ya?
Saya Mazatul dari Unit 10.
Dr. Mai. Ya, baru semalam jumpa. Ya.
Mai je Prof, tak ada doktor lagi.
Saya bagi doktor.
Amin, doa.
Ya, apa pendapat Mai?
Okay, Prof, biasa saya pun memang biasa buat kuis apa semua, tapi biasa saya akan abaikan bagai feedback. But then bila Prof tekankan pasal feedback ni, saya cakap betul juga ni, kena include sebenarnya feedback tu. Sometimes just bagi macam congratulation, kalau salah tu try again, but then macam tak ada input kan. So okay, boleh saya masukkan lepas ni. Terima kasih Prof.
Ya, kalau kita baca kalau Google ya, student feedback, MCQ, role of feedback, then you will see amat berguna kalau kita bagi feedback. Dan tools yang paling power sekali saya rasa lah, dan saya memang gunakan, dah lama saya gunakan Socrative ni, adalah Socrative lah untuk bagi feedback, immediate feedback ya pada pelajar. So apa cara lain? Banyak lagi cara lain. Contoh macam ini modul saya dalam Google Site ni, Enhancing Digital Competency for Blended and Hybrid Learning. Kita prepare virtual space for them. Ya, dalam LMS kita, dalam apa dipanggil tu? Brighton ya. Dalam Brighton memang ada ruang untuk itu, tapi kadang-kadang underutilized. Kita fokus tak gunakan ya. Tapi kalau dalam Google Site ni, apa yang saya buat kan, kat bawah tu saya sediakan ruang untuk bagi feedback. So student boleh tanya soalan, kita boleh berinteraksi dengan mereka, kita bagi feedback dan sebagainya. So there is one way ya. Ini modul saya yang lain. Sentiasa ada ruang untuk pelajar bagi feedback. Okay, ini contoh satu kursus online ya. Ini kursus ini free ya. This is actually MOOC oleh Open Learning ya. Ini very good course bagi siapa yang nak improve dia punya teaching presence dalam community of inquiry. Kalau siapa yang follow sebelum ni, dia tahulah ya. Kita ada social presence, teaching presence dan cognitive presence kan. Untuk teaching presence, salah satu elemen yang sangat penting adalah facilitation. So ini khusus facilitating for success. Tapi saya bukan nak cakap pasal ini. Saya nak tunjukkan bagaimana khusus ini didesign to include feedback. Ya. So dia ada ruang disediakan khas resources and feedback. Nampak tak yang sebelah kiri ni? Ya, saya besarkan sikit. Resources and feedback. So di sini feedback, advice and ideas. So dia sediakan ruang untuk itu. Pelajar bagi feedback, kita bagi feedback. So feedback ni dua hala. Ya, student bagi feedback, kita pun boleh bagi feedback. Two ways feedback. Satu lagi cara apabila kita create group. Ya, kita create group untuk pelajar. Dalam setiap group kita pun masuk. Kalau kita tengok sini kan, nampak tak? Ada banyak group di sini. Ada 5 group. Dan dalam setiap group tenaga pengajar pun boleh masuk di situ supaya kita boleh bagi feedback kepada that smaller group. So we can give feedback to the whole group, to the whole class. Kita juga boleh bagi feedback at the group level and also at the individual level. So that is feedback. Okay. And what about practice? Of course, practice ini bila bagi quiz ini contohnya ini pun practice lah. Ya, kita boleh bagi quiz dengan feedback sekaligus. Practice and feedback sekaligus. Okey, ada soalan tak? Kalau tak ada soalan, sebab kita ada 2 lagi saya nak cover. Tapi kita kena pastikan yang ini ni dapat difahami. Ada soalan sebelum saya proceed? Mungkin saya tengok chat sekejap. Mana chat? Okey. Link. Okey, daripada Fatoni. ChatGPT quite disappoint us when looking for the best asam pedas. Okay, asam pedas. Okay, from Nurul Bahia. Can we rely 100% on ChatGPT? No. Don't rely 100% on ChatGPT. You kena check. Kalau kita buat MCQ tadi pun, kita kan subject matter expert. ChatGPT ni untuk membantu dan memudahkan. So kita sebagai subject matter expert, kita tengok dulu soalan-soalan yang dia buat tu betul ke? Dia punya jawapan tu sesuai ke, relevan ke, betul ke, ketepatannya. Kemudian, everything we have to check. Don't just simply take. Okay. Fatoni pun kata never rely 100%. Dr. Johanna, Dr. Johanna ada ya. Usually in a simple MCQ assessment, I will always include my feedback for each of the choice. Of course lah, lepas Dr. Johanna expert kan.
Taklah, Prof.
Expert lah tu. Okay. Kita ada lagi soalannya. Okay, saya boleh. Can I proceed? Ya. Yeah? Okay.
Biasanya feedback tu adalah lebih kepada feedback untuk topik tu. Apa beza feedback dengan reflection?
Well, reflection basically on students on the students' part. Yeah. On the students' part, they can do their own self-reflection of what they have learned, what they have understood, or even areas that they feel they are still kind of not very clear. So this is part of the so-called metacognition, where they reflect on their understanding, they think about what they have not yet understand, dan sebagainya. So feedback is to me more kind of active activity or active action that we as an instructor or as a teacher, as a lecturer, identify where the students need more explanation, or maybe areas where they have misunderstanding, misinterpretation, misconception. So we need to kind of give a feedback. It's kind of intervention in a sense. So that we want to ensure the students will not end up until at the end of the semester end up with the same misconception and misinterpretation. So it's more kind of active action on our part. Yeah. So that's what I think the difference between reflection and feedback. Maybe someone can also try to ask ChatGPT what ChatGPT says about the difference or the subtle difference between feedback and reflection as well. I think this is something that we can do also. Yeah. So thank you very much. That's very good questions. So maybe I just move on first to principle number 6 and number 7, and later on at the end we can also always come back and revisit these 3 principles. Yeah, the last 2 principles, or even starting from the first one as well. So principle number 6. So we are coming to the end now. Principle number 6. Why do student development and course climate matter for student learning? So we are talking about now the learning environment. The learning environment where the students learn. I think there is very much common sense as well. Now think about the flower or the seed in the pot. We put the seed and the seed start to germinate and grow. So basically how good the plant would grow depends very much on the environment, including what's in the soil, whether enough fertilizers, enough water, and the environment, the air, whether the air is toxic, whether there's enough everything for the plant to grow. So I always like to use this kind of analogy or metaphor. The same thing for our student. There's a saying, if the flower doesn't grow, fix the environment first. Then only if the environment, everything is right, and the plant or the student still not growing, so meaning that there's something that we need to look at the students. The student emotional state, the students maybe family background, whether they have problems at home, things like that. So the environment is very important because student development, not only cognitive part that we must concern, because most of the time we focus more on cognitive. Tapi kita forget on the other part, the affective, the emotional part. Yeah. So this is something that the principle number 6, a lot of research have been done on this area. And here, what the book says, we must consider students holistically in terms of the intellectual development, which is more on the cognitive part, but don't forget on the social. That's why, again, come back to community of inquiry. The social presence there is very important because learning happens best in the social environment. Human is a social being, social creature. We need people around us. If you live in the isolated island and you don't have people to talk to, you can go crazy. So we are emotional beings, okay? We need to look at our classroom, not only as an intellectual space for the students to grow cognitively, but also social and emotional environment. Before pandemic, this part is somehow not given attention sufficiently, adequately, almost neglected. But I think the good thing about pandemic, we become more and more aware of the importance of the emotional part, the so-called emotional well-being. Now we talk about social emotional learning, SEL, S-E-L. I'm very happy to see that more and more people, more and more discussion talk about social part and the emotional part, not only the cognitive part. So although instructors can only encourage development, they can significantly impact the course climate. So we cannot just say, oh, I don't care about all the social part and so on. My job is go to the class, teach what I need to teach, make sure the students, learn the concept, whatever, the content, so that they can answer in the exam. That's all. No, it has to go beyond that. So, of course, the bottom line, we want to ensure learning happens. But for learning to happen, there are intertwined, two things intertwined here: student development and the environment where they are in. Their environment is our classroom, and the classroom can be physical, classroom can be online. And also don't forget the environment in the campus as well. So that's why I always talk about educational experience, which involve two things: learning experience and life experience. So this is very important. Interactive effect of student development and course climate on learning. So if you want to develop students to be holistic and balanced, which is shift number 1 in our blueprint, we have to look at our student as a human being. We have to look at our student as adult learners. That's why we need to understand about adult learning theories. We need to understand the climate where they are in. We want to create a conducive environment for them. The environment where everything needed for them to grow is there. Yeah. So all learning has an emotional base, according to Plato. That Plato is what? 15th, 14th century? I can remember. So even then, Plato, these wise people, talk about learning in the context of driven by or controlled by emotional base. You don't address the emotional part, then don't expect learning can happen effectively. If you take care of the emotion part, the cognitive part probably would come or happens automatically. Make the students happy, make the students want to come or want to spend time in your classroom. They don't want your class to end that fast because they are engrossed, they are immersed. So we create an immersive learning environment. Remember, we talk about immersive learning environment, just like in a casino where people are so immersive, so engrossed, they forget about time. They forget it's already 4 a.m. in the morning. I've seen this with my eyes in Las Vegas when I was staying in the hotel there. The ground floor is casino. When you go out from the lift, it's casino. 4 a.m. in the morning, people, it's so happening because people forget about time. They forget about sleep because they are so engrossed. They are emotionally engaged. That's a kind of classroom that we want to create. So, ladies and gentlemen, my dear colleagues, tap into the power of emotion. That's a key, critical. Win the heart of our students. When you win their heart, then whatever you want to do now can really happen more probably easily. So this is where Bloom versus Maslow. All this while we talk about Bloom taxonomy, right? Which is basically on the right hand side here. Maslow is more, Bloom taxonomy, cognitive domain, is more on the thinking part or the cognitive part, intellectual part. Okay, all this while the focus is mainly on this. OBE is mainly on this. The auditors mainly looking at this. Tapi now, time to understand Maslow. Those who have taken any management course as a minor, I took minor in my undergrad. So I was introduced to Maslow hierarchy of needs. It's a beautiful concept, yeah. So first, according to Maslow, people want to survive. They just want to survive. They have food, they have shelter. Basic needs for we to live, to live, basically. Food, shelter. Then after you have this, then you have enough food, you have plenty of food, abundance of food, you have shelter. The next thing is security. You want to have security. Once this is fulfilled, you want to have a sense of belonging. Then after that, you want to feel that you are important. Then self-esteem, and finally self-actualization. So when we talk about students' well-being, emotional well-being, and so on, we forget about Maslow. So now I think is best if we can look at cognitive part, which is the Bloom taxonomy, and also the Maslow part, looking at our student as a human being that is very sensitive, that have emotions, that we need to show our caring, ask them, even knowing their names, knowing something about their family background, and always concerned, prihatin, asking how they are doing now, how we can help, dan sebagainya. That means a lot to the students. So this is where SEL comes in, social emotional learning. In the context of principle number 6 just now, what is the principle number 6? We look at students as, in terms of their growth, in terms of the conducive and climate for learning, environment for learning. So we need to take care of their emotion. We need to create a social environment where they can interact and feel comfortable with each other. We need to create a so-called community of learners, learning community, where they are happy to live together, learn together, collaborate together in a group, working together in a group. They don't have any animosity and so on. So SEL can help all young people and adults thrive personally and academically, develop and maintain positive relationship, become lifelong learners, and contribute to a more caring, just world. So now apa tu dipanggil tu? Lupa pula dah. They are talking about just world. Just world. So this is where we need to create an environment for our students to learn together, appreciate each other, work, in such a way that they carry the responsibility, berat sama dipikul, ringan sama dijinjing, that kind of attitude. Who is responsible to create this? We, the instructor, the lecturers, the teacher. We need to design our course in such a way to ensure we nurture and cultivate these social and emotional learning principles. So SEL is a process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skill, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. SEL makes a difference. We know this from the research. You can read more from the book, which demonstrate that an education that promotes SEL has a positive impact on a wide range of outcomes, including academic performance, healthy relationship, mental wellness, and more. So, before we take a break, I want to stress again, reiterate on this point. Reiterate on this point, we must create a supportive online course community if you are teaching online or blended learning. The online part, the social presence part is very critical, vital to the success of the learning community. So how do we do this? There are many different ways. So this is my way of doing it. I have, for my course, not only I have my course on the LMS, I create a page or a group on the Facebook. Then here we interact also. So can you see how I provide instant gratification for the student when the student do some activity, or you can highlight student of the week, contohnya Imam Putra. So I do a short video. This is actually a video. Congratulations, Imam, for being the most active student for MK 221 this week. Keep up the good work. Learning is messy. You never know and never imagine how much this really matters to the student, how this make a difference to the student. They will feel happy because we put them, we highlight them to the whole class and see how the students, to their peers respond. Congratulations, Imam. Keep it up. Congratulations, Imam. I guess blah 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 blah. And then Imam here, Iman is his name. Thank you, Prof, for the appreciation. This gives me more motivation to doing well in the class and study harder. Honestly, I love your classes very much. If you do not mind, I will make it as an example that I should emulate it. But this actually is exchange student from Indonesia. So can you see how much impact this can have on the students? On the emotion part, this could be kind of sticking in their mind forever, something memorable. And this, another example that I did for the student. Brian Lim, student of the month. So I have student of the week, student of the month. Of course, this one will take your time to do all this. But if you really want to create that environment for the students to grow, to be motivated all the time, we have to put in the work. So this is actually a simple poster. Congratulations, you can do this in Canva now. Congratulations and kudos to Brian for consistently being very active student in IMK 221 and always give his best in his work. Continue to show your dedication. Learning is fun. You want to keep sending the message that learning is fun, learning is this, learning is that. Share the quotes from time to time and so on. So you see what Brian Lim said. Thank you, Prof. Karim. I love the fun environment in your classes. At the end of the
Take break, Bob.
at the end of the day, teacher helps to bring out the best in his or her student. Okay, so
Take five.
yeah, we take 5 now. So it was 10:30 now. We come back at 10:35. Boleh
10:35. Okay, Prof.
Alright, okay.
Alright.
Thank you.
Okay,
Start.
yang mana
Ya.
ni boleh minum-minum lah.
Boleh minum-minum.
Berehat, regangkan badan.
Okay, so see you Boleh teruskan Dr. Zaman?
Okay, Prof. So kita akan teruskan. Tapi ada satu soalan, Prof, daripada Mahlin Dayu ni dekat chat.
Ya, apa ni saya nampak tadi.
Jawab tu dulu kot. Lepas tu kita
Dayu,
terus.
oh ya, Dr. Dayu ya. Soalannya untuk mencipta suasana student of the month tadi tu, of the week or the month, adakah saya maklumkan kriteria awal di awal kelas? Adakah nak buat ni? Adakah saya ada buat kriteria kepada student? Jawapannya masa saya buat ni tak ada lah. Saya cuma maklumkan kepada student. Saya kata okey, saya akan pilih setiap minggu, setiap bulan pelajar yang paling aktif. Aktif ni maksud dia dah saya terangkan macam tu je lah. Tapi saya tak adalah bagi kriteria yang jelas sebenarnya. Ya. Tapi kalau nak kita boleh buat jugalah kriteria yang jelas. Apakah kriteria yang melayakkan anda dipilih sebagai student of the week, student of the month. Ya. And surprisingly, these are adult students. Ya. Surprisingly for them, there is something that something motivating for them. It is a motivation for them. So impact daripada sini impact daripada sini is probably long lasting lah for the students. So that's basically to talk about principle number 6, which basically we talk about why do student development and course climate matter for student learning. So I hope this is clear. Remember the emotion part, social and emotion. So this is what we call social emotional learning. Bacalah lebih banyak lagi tentang ini. Saya nampak dah banyak yang perbincangan ataupun orang kata banyaklah tentang social emotional learning ini kalau dulu tak nampak. Now become more relevant because we are concerned about the emotional being of our students and even
Prof.
staff pun. Yeah.
Prof,
Yeah,
sama macam EQ tu kan? EQ tu.
A part of it is actually EQ is also looking at the addressing what the emotional part lah. Yeah. Tapi
Okay.
There is more on the intellectual part also, emotional intelligence kan. Tapi looking at more on the psychology, on the emotion punya part. Yeah. It is come nicely together dengan the emotional learning punya part. Because EQ ni sebenarnya juga looking at kita tak orang kata moving from one size fits all to a more differentiated, kita pakai differentiated learning or differentiated instruction. Maknanya we are addressing diversity, we are addressing inclusiveness, we are addressing the equality and also equity. Nampak tak? Ya? Ada beza tu equality dengan equity. Semua ni kita boleh rangkumkan dalam emotional, social emotional learning. So kalau kita fokus, kita pay attention to this one, we are also addressing the SDG 4 tu tanpa kita sedari, directly or indirectly. Okay? So to me, it is really very important for us to understand. And finally, the last but not least, Alhamdulillah, kita nak khatam buku ni ya. TLC kena buat pulut kuning ni. Principle number 7. Semuanya penting lah. Bila saya cakap ni, this is very important. Sebab ni memang 7 prinsipul ni sebenarnya. And now, more and more, kita mendengar people talk about self-directed learning, self-directed learners, self-regulated learning, self-regulated learners. Kalau kita kata moving forward, we are preparing students for the VUCA world, the world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and we want to prepare students to be more adaptable, more agile for the 4th industrial revolution, Industry 4.0 and whatnot. How do we do that? We want to develop our student, we want to nurture and cultivate our students to become self-directed learners. Sebenarnya 4 tahun di universiti ni, there's so much we can do. Orang kata melentur buluh, biarlah dari rebung. Jadi dia to develop student as self-directed learners, it should happen from the kindergarten and the K-12, 12 tahun tu. When they come to the university, they are already self-directed learners, independent learners, proactive learners. Malangnya, probably it didn't happen, so tak apalah. We try to do as much as we can within the 4 years to develop our students to become self-directed learners. But what is self-directed learners and what is directed learning? We have to understand this one first clearly. We want learners to be more independent. Basically, that's the essence of it. We want the students to be more independent. And when the students are independent, we as the lecturers now, we can become more of facilitators. We don't just be the sage on the stage, but a guide by their side. Yeah, sage on the stage, basically teacher-centered. To be a guide by their side. So in the student-centered learning environment, we just facilitate, guide. Okay. So this is what the book says. Yeah. This diagram is from the book. Yeah. Cycle of self-directed learning. So this is a student in the center. Students' beliefs about intelligence and learning. So self-directed learners, they're independent. Yeah, they always this a term yang we call metacognition. Yeah, so self-directed learners. Before we look into this, self-directed learners learn to develop metacognitive skill, which is very important skill. The ability to reflect, metacognitive skill is the skill or the ability to reflect on and direct their own thinking. Itu self-reflection. They always think about, okay, during the class, for example, ditanya soalan dalam have I really understood this content, this principle, this concept? If I still not very clear, I will raise my hand and ask questions, or I will wait until the class and go and see the lecturer or teacher to ask for clarification. They have that kind of always thinking about dia punya learning, always thinking about dia punya understanding, yeah, always looking for gaps in their learning proactively. So this is a kind of metacognitive ability to reflect. And metacognition does not necessarily develop on its own. So we can help them to develop that metacognitive skill. So instructors can play a critical role in helping students develop the metacognitive skill. Students who naturally and continuously monitor their performance and understand learning better. So self-directed learners are students who naturally and continuously monitor their performance and understanding learning, learn better, how to learn better, how to improve. Yeah. Student-directed learners also are student can be taught to self-monitor. So this is a skill that we can help them to develop and improve learning. Students who believe their intelligence is malleable, yang ada growth mindset. Self-directed learners ni student yang ada growth mindset, bukan fixed mindset. They always believe in their ability to learn more. Yeah, always believe in their ability to learn more. They are like a sponge, or SpongeBob. Absorb. They know they can absorb more and more and more and more. They believe they can grow more and more. They can continue to grow by learning more, asking questions, proactively. So they have the growth mindset rather than fixed mindset and more likely to learn and perform well. These are the ciri-ciri, the characteristics of self-directed learners. So we want to help students to become one. So students who are self-directed learners, they always assess themselves, the task given to them. So they assess the task, they think about how to go about. They think about, okay, maybe this one I can use ChatGPT, this one I cannot use ChatGPT. They know the boundary, they know their scope, They evaluate their strengths and weaknesses. They always know what are their strengths, they know what are their weaknesses. They always do SWOT. Yeah, ada personal SWOT analysis. Have you done personal SWOT analysis? It can be very interesting, I've done this exercise with our young lecturers in USM. So they all buat SWOT, very interesting exercise. Yeah. Sometimes we never imagine that, oh, okay, I've never really thought these are my weaknesses.
Prof.
Yeah.
Prof, buat SWOT analysis pada pelajar? Ke pada pensyarah?
No, pensyarah. Kami buat ni dalam program untuk new lecturer. So, salah satu aktiviti yang saya buat, ialah SWOT. Disuruh dia orang buat personal SWOT analysis. Kalau berminat, kita boleh buat juga untuk staff unit 10. Yang ni especially dalam konteks kita nak buat personal branding.
Okay.
So
Menarik.
Menarik, memang menarik. Dan student juga boleh kita ajar dia orang buat personal SWOT. This is where the reflection part comes in, and then teach the students now how to develop that metacognitive skill, so that they can continuously reflect on, do a self-reflection, asking the right questions, identifying the gap and the weaknesses, and then create opportunities for themselves, improve on the weaknesses to become their strength, dan benda-benda macam ni ada banyak lagi lah. Okay. So when
boleh gunakan ChatGPT lah untuk nak dapat SWOT tu.
Boleh bang, boleh. Bisa, tapi kita kena bantu ChatGPT lah. Kita bagi dia, okay, this is what I think my kemudian kita boleh detailkan lagi lah dengan gunakan ChatGPT.
Cara bertanya tu kan.
Ya. Ni. Saya rasa menarik lah kalau kita boleh buat satu satu sesi on this one, Dr. Zulman. Tapi kita tanya partisipan kita hari ni, menarik, interested tak? Kalau interested kata yes, kalau tak interested kata no. boleh buat dalam chat tu lah. Nanti saya tengok chat. Are you interested to learn how to do SWOT and how do we relate this with personal branding? Yes. Is interested? Yes. Not interested? Say no. Oh, yes. Oh, ramai kata yes ni. Prof Hanim pun ada. Ya, a big yes, Dr. Johanna. Ya. In USM, kita buat ni untuk dalam program new lecturers. Memang the feedback is overwhelming lah. Alamak, banyak pula phone hari ni. Sekejap ya, minta excuse sekejap ya.
Boleh bro. Okay, sementara tu sahabat-sahabat boleh isi borang evaluation dengan kehadiran kat dalam chat.
Minta maaf ya sebab saya kena jawab. Apa tadi ya?
Ramai minat bro, tengok.
Kita talk
untuk
about
SWOT analysis.
Personal SWOT
analysis.
Tapi personal SWOT ni kalau kita buat on its own, dia kurang bermakna. Dia kena relatekan dengan personal academic branding tau. Mengapa ini penting? Itu kita boleh cerita tu ya. Tapi saya rasa Prof Puan Ayu pun boleh conduct ni sebab dia dah ada buat bengkel. Dia itu pergi bengkel kan. Puan Ayu, Puan Yu buat. Minta Puan Yu buat lah. Macam mana Puan Yu?
Dia tak boleh respon bro, dia pakai handphone dia.
Okay, alright. Tapi tak apa, insyaAllah. Ya. Okay. Ramai yang kata yes tu. Kita boleh buat lah satu ya.
Kita boleh cadang nantilah.
Okay, jom kita sambung sikit lagi. Jadi apa tadi ya? Jadi bila dia boleh evaluate. Bila kita buat SWOT ni kan, kita evaluate our strength and weaknesses. Kita mungkin tak pernah buat dengan secara intentional tau. Kita take things for granted. Tapi kita bila buat betul-betul, dan kita boleh betul-betul kita perah otak kita, baru kita nampak wah, kita banyak strength ke, kita banyak weakness. Tengok-tengok kita punya opportunity, punya list panjang sebenarnya opportunity. Cuma kita tak grab je. The low hanging fruits tu. The low hanging fruits tu kita tak senarai.
Bakat terpendam bro, bakat terpendam.
Betul, ya. Yeah. So I'm sure you'll be apa ni orang kata amazed bila kita buat benda ni. Tapi tak apa. Kita still talking about principle number 7 tadi tu, self-directed learners. So bila dah tahu kekuatan, kelemahan, gaps dan sebagainya, students sekarang ni dengan bantuan kita, dia boleh plan. Okay, dia boleh plan, apply strategies, monitor dia punya own performance, reflect and adjust if needed. Then the cycle continues. Macam tu. Ya, ini yang dipanggil cycle of self-directed learning. Sebenarnya kan, cuba kita fikir, di mana ruang kita nak educate our students on benda-benda macam ini? Tak ada kan? Tell me, where is the room for this? We take for granted that students know how to learn. Students have the skill to as a self-directed learners. Selalu kita complain student kita ni kan tak independent lah. Dia orang ni asyik kita nak spoon feed aja. Dia orang ni asyik datang kat kita je minta nota itulah inilah macam-macam kita complain kan. Which is betul. Tapi apa yang kita nak buat untuk bantu mereka? Kita duduk marah aja ke? You all ni kan tak tahulah nak independent sikit. You all ni kan selalu macam tu lah kan. So actually now kita perlu bantu mereka. Kita perlu bantu mereka untuk menjadi self-directed learners. Sebab when they come to university, kita sebenarnya berharap mereka dah become independent learners. 12 tahun di sekolah, tapi tidak berlaku di sekolah. Tahulah apa yang berlaku di sekolah kan. Everything is drill, everything is guided. Itu cerita panjang lah kan. So self-directed learning, self-directed learners. The process untuk jadikan create self-directed learning ni, berbelit lidah lah sebut. A process in which learners take responsibility in understanding their learning needs. Itu metacognitive tu. Establishing their learning goals and implementing learning strategies and evaluation. Dia sendiri proactively nilaikan diri dia. Dia sendiri proactively berbuat sesuatu. Sentiasa bertanya soalan dalam diri dia, apa yang aku kurang, apa yang aku lemah lagi, apa yang aku perlu buat untuk memperbaiki kelemahan aku. Ya. The next level daripada self-directed learning kepada self-regulated. Yang ini yang paling baik lah kalau kita dapat nurture student untuk jadi ni. Students can be described as self-regulated to the degree that they are metacognitively, motivationally and behaviorally active participants in their own learning process. These are the type of students who are highly motivated. I think all of us here, I believe, masa kita sekolah dulu, kita ni jenis yang self-regulated learner lah. Sebab apa? Kalau tidak, kita tak berada di sini lah. Jadi lecturer. Kalau tidak kita tak do well lah. We didn't do well in our academic untuk jadi lecturer kan. Ya. Because kita reflect balik dulu kan macam mana. Lah mungkin ada malas sikit, tapi kita basically self-motivated, self-regulated, highly motivated students, proactive. Tak payah tunggu cikgu nak cakap baru kita buat. Atau cikgu kata buat 1, kita buat 5. Lecturer kata buat 1, dia buat 3. Yang bukan self-regulated atau self-directed ni, lecturer bagi 1 assignment, last minute baru dia submit. Dan dia buat hanya cukup makan saja. Cukuplah, asalkan pass, asalkan buat, asalkan submit. Ada yang tak submit by the deadline pun. Itu dia. These are the student yang kita kena bantu supaya dia boleh nilaikan diri dia, weakness dia, improve dan sebagainya, become in the end self-directed dan ultimately self-regulated learners. Ini yang
Prof, soalan Prof.
Ya, soalan, ada soalan. Ya, silakan.
Prof Hanim ni, dia tanya, can you explain metacognitive?
Metacognitive. Metacognitive ni basically tadi, the person always thinking about diri dia, about dia punya the metacognitive ni literally kalau dia tengok translation tu, thinking about own self, dia punya own thinking. Ya, maknanya dia always buat self reflection. Maknanya dengan kata mudahnya dia sentiasa buat SWOT lah. Okey, itu dengan mudah, kata mudahnya lah metacognitive tu, ya.
Muhasabah diri itu.
Ya, itulah apa yang mudahnya kita kata muhasabah diri lah. Okey. So bila kita bercakap tentang self-directed learning, self-regulated ni memang metacognitive skill itu. Ya, metacognitive bermaksud muhasabah tadi lah. Always thinking about whatever that you do, whatever that you perform. So you always menilaikan, okay, sejauh mana kita punya pencapaian, apa lagi yang perlu kita buat, apa lagi kelemahan yang perlu kita perbaiki. Kita always ask that kind of question, always monitor ourselves. Independent tau. Kita perlu, orang kata apa, macam pahat dengan tukul baru nak jalan kerja macam tu. Itu dengan kata mudahnya lah. Okay.
Betul.
Saya harap itu jelas. Ada tak orang-orang lain di sini, mungkin Dr. Jana, yang lain boleh nak tolong expandkan lagi on metacognitive ni? Ada? Tak ada? Kita tanya Ustaz apa ni?
Yang lain boleh share kalau nak metacognitive.
Tanya ChatGPT lah kejap ya.
Tanya ChatGPT.
Explain metacognitive. Why not? Kita gunakan apa yang ada in the context of self-directed learning. Okay, apa dia kata? Itu dia. Self-awareness, goal setting, planning and organization, monitoring and reflection, strategy selection, self-regulation, overall metacognition empowers individual. Ini empowerment ya. Empowers individual to become active and self-directed learners by understanding their own cognitive processes. Understanding dia punya own cognitive processes. Dia thinking about dia punya thinking. Setting goal. Dia dah tahu dia punya direction. Semester ni aku nak score A. Apa aku perlu buat? Jadi dia plan. Dia monitor. Dia reflect. Dia regulate dia punya own learning. Dia empower diri dia. Dia ada full control of dia punya own learning. Dia nilaikan keberkesanan dia punya apa ni. Kalau bila test yang pertama dia dapat B+, sasarannya A, dia dapat B+. Dia tahu ada gap kat situ. Where I went wrong. Dia tanya soalan kepada diri dia. Where I went wrong. Dia tak perlulah pensyarah kata kenapa you dapat B+. Dia tak perlu tunggu pensyarah kata kenapa you dapat B+. Dia akan nilaikan diri dia sendiri dan dia akan ambil proactive actions towards improving dia punya grade. They become more independent in acquiring and applying knowledge. Kita bagi dia senarai bacaan, katakan 2 senarai bacaan. Dia pergi cari 10 senarai bacaan. Dia akan buat 10, dia akan baca 10. Kita kata submit deadline dia 30 hari bulan Mei. Dia submit 20 hari bulan Mei. Lebih kurang begitulah. Ya, saya harap itu jelaslah memperjelaskan tu ya. Prof Hanim okey tak Prof Hanim?
Dia ada tambah sikit tu. Dia kata
Okay, Prof. Thank you so much.
Self-perceptive, clear self-awareness. Betul, clear self-awareness. Dia ada orang macam ini kan, yang self-directed ni, self-regulated ni, dia ada drone ke atas kepala dia. Dia nampak the overall view of diri dia. Kemana hala tuju dia, kemana dia salah langkah, misstep, misadventure dan sebagainya. Okay, so gitulah. Dan student umur 18 tahun, 19 tahun, 20 tahun, they are still very green. Ya, kita bayangkan diri kita dulu kan masih mentah, masih naif. Jadi kita perlu bantu dia orang ya. Ada student yang dah lebih matang, tapi tak semua. Kebanyakannya masih memerlukan bantuan. We have to hold their hand to some extent ya. So we want learners to be more independent. Less of us, more of them. Itu student-centered learning sebenarnya. Less of us, more of them. Creating student-centered context for learning. So student-centered learning sebenarnya, apa maksud dia? Student take responsibility for their own learning. Student empower. We empower students to learn independently. Empowerment berlaku di situ. Tetapi jika student nak empower diri dia, dia kena ada ciri-ciri self-directed learners. Self-regulated learners. Baru dia boleh empower diri dia. Otherwise, student-centered learning tidak boleh berlaku secara efektif jika student tidak berlaku empowerment dan student tidak ada ciri-ciri ataupun hanya ada sebahagian ciri-ciri self-directed learners. Learning, kata Susan Ambrose dalam buku ni, ya, learning is not something done to students, but rather something students themselves do. Itu dah student empowerment itu. Self-directed. Ya. Dia direct dia punya own student. Dia direct dia punya own learning. The student himself or herself is the director, pengarah kepada dia punya own learning. Dia orchestrate dia punya own learning. Dia ada full control. It is the direct result of how students interpret and respond to their experiences, conscious and unconscious, past and present. Very powerful message here from the book that I extracted out in this form so that you can see it clearly. Remember this, learning is not something done to students. Itu teacher-centered lah basically. Ya, kita rasa student dah belajar, dah learn. Kita bagi seperti 1 jam kuliah, bagi dia 20 slides, bagi semua slide, bagi semua nota. Pandai-pandai lah you all belajar. Kan kita rasa itu dia we have done our part. We have done the learning for student. But actually learning is something that students have to do by themselves. That is where the empowerment, self-empowered, self-directed. So di sini lah metakognitif tadi ni, ya. Untuk penjelasan lebih lanjut, yang kita bagi metakognitif based or metakognitif driven teaching and learning strategies. Kita nak jadikan student kita ni agile. Dalam VUCA tu, A is ambiguous. Kita gantikan dengan A tu dengan agile. Ya. So adaptable. A juga stand for adaptable. So that they become resilient. Kalau tidak kita kata student kita ni lembik lah. Kan? Kita punya impression, kita orang ni lembik lah. Buat sikit je pun dah rasa dah banyak sangat. Ni sikit pun, lebih sikit pun dah complain. So kadang-kadang kita ada that impression student ni lembik. Mungkin. Ya, tetapi tugas kita lah, tanggungjawab kita untuk membina mereka menjadi resilient mentally. Jadi di situlah self-directed and self-regulated. And metacognitive student always asking questions. Contoh, dia kata, what am I seeking to learn or to be able to do dalam course ini? What have I learned at the end of this class this morning? Macam participant sekarang ni, you all dalam ni, what have I learned up to this point? Have I invested my time properly or, productively this morning, listening to this old man? How can I take my learning to the next level? Dia dah belum habis lagi ni, dia dah fikir nak go to the next level ni. Ataupun bila kita dengar balik, macam mana aku nak apply dalam kelas ni? Besok ada kelas atau next week ada kelas. Dia dah ke depan tau. How will I make personal meaning of this content? Dia nak create meaning. Itu yang tertinggi tu, ya. Learning is meaningful when you can create meaning. You can apply and create meaning. What do I currently know or think about this topic? So they always assess the current situation. Bagi kita yang pengajar pula, teacher ni, kalau metacognitive teacher ni macam mana? Are you metacognitive teacher, educator or lecturer? Are you asking this sort of questions all the time? What are the most important aspect of this lesson? Where might students encounter difficulties? So empathy tu, kita fikir kalau aku dulu student bila aku belajar thermodynamic ni, memang tak boleh faham. Kan? Sekarang aku yang mengajar. Macam mana? So kita put ourselves, reflect ourselves dulu, understand how we were when we were the student, how we were struggling, grappling with the concept and so on. So now kita ada empathy tu, maka kita bawa empathy kita ni untuk kita memastikan pelajar-pelajar nanti tak struggle, dia boleh faham dan sebagainya. How I can link this content to the prior knowledge? Itu prior knowledge tu, principle number 1. Ya. Prior knowledge kita kena buat assessment. Is this lesson going as I plan? Kita sentiasa bertanya. Even tak habis pun lagi webinar ni, saya duk fikir kan, adakah you are really learning something? Macam tu kan. Ataupun this webinar pagi ni is going, as progressing as what I have planned, ataupun dah jadi haywire ke apa ke, dan macam-macam lagi. So that kind of always reflecting, doing the self-reflection ini menjadikan kita metacognitive educator, teacher, lecturer. Student pula, when come to the student, metacognitive. Itu yang kita panggil metacognitive based teaching, metacognitive based learning. Jadi macam mana cara kita nak pastikan student jadi self-directed learners? Peranan pelajar apa dia? Dia menjadi director of their own learning. Dia jadi detective of their own thinking. Detective kan apa? Menyiasat kan? Investigate of dia investigate dia punya own thinking. Collaborator with peers and teachers. Dia proaktif. Dia lead. Bila dia jadi group member, dia akan jadi group member yang produktif, bukan jadi passenger. Okay? Dia volunteer nak cari resources. Kalau dia jadi participant dalam webinar, kalau dia jadi participant dalam webinar, dia ni aktif summarize the point yang speaker tu cakap. Dia akan cari source yang untuk support apa yang konsep ataupun whatever yang speaker tadi cakap, dia bagi dia supplement pula dengan ni. Kalau saya jadi participant dalam mana-mana webinar, if you have been with me in any webinar, you will see that I'll always busy not helping the speaker, but summarizing points by the speaker, kemudian share resources dan sebagainya. So because I want to be an active learner, so that I can learn for myself. Another one, I want to also try to benefit the other listeners or participants, so that I can complement and supplement whatever the speaker ni, then they can get more. That is a kind of active metacognitive kind of learners yang kita boleh lihat, ya. Cara dia behave, what it might look like. So all this will translate into the behavior. Nak tahu student kita ni self-directed learner ke, tengok yang ini. Ya, apa yang dia buat. Co-constructing success success criteria, setting goal, monitoring their thinking, self-questioning, self-regulating dan sebagainya. Okey, jangan bimbang ya, semua slide ni nanti saya akan kumpulkan semua. Saya akan improvekan lagi jadi lebih komprehensif dan nanti akan share pada semua orang lah ya. Okey. Kalau kita pula, ini ourselves lah. Kita nak foster self-directed learner atau self-regulated learner. In dalam diri kita pun kena jadi self-directed learner juga tau. Ya. Jadi apa peranan kita? Ini dia. Dan how it translate into behavior. Ini dia. Okay. Okay, saya tak perlu elaborate lebih panjang. Tapi ya. Kita boleh gunakan senarai ini untuk buat SWOT diri kita. Adakah aku mempunyai metacognitive? My teaching strategies is driven or based on metacognitive strategy. Okay. So, tanyalah soalan-soalan ini kepada diri kita untuk kita buat SWOT untuk bahagian ini. Apa ni, checkbox 1, 2, 3. Kalau banyak yang tak tick tu, maknanya banyak gap di situ, banyak ruang atau gap apa? Ruang lah ya. Jurang ya. So kita kena berusaha lah untuk menjadi lebih metacognitive driven. Dan yang berkaitan dengan self-directed ini juga adalah self-efficacy. The growth mindset tadi tu. Ya, the growth mindset. Kita nak student kita ada kepercayaan pada diri dia. They believe in themselves, in herself or himself. A set of attitude that one can achieve their goals and succeed in a given situation. Malaysia boleh lah. In other words, ya, aku boleh. Growth mindset, ya, aku boleh. Aku berupaya. Aku ada kebolehan. Aku ada keupayaan. Cuma aku belum unleash lagi. Aku belum kembangkan lagi. Ya. So aku adalah sekuntum bunga yang belum kembang mekar lagi. Ada late bloomers kan? Ya, late bloomers. Saya rasa saya pun late bloomers, ya. Tapi bila dia kembang tu, dia mekar berkembang, wangi, mewangikan seluruh taman. Macam itulah, ya. So biarlah kita late bloomers. Tapi kita sampai ke finishing line in the end, ya. Biarlah kita bukan yang pertama sampai ke finishing line. Tapi bila kita sampai ke finishing line tu, kita tak pengsan, kita masih lagi boleh bernafas, masih lagi boleh bercakap, ya. Kadang-kadang kita tengok dalam racing, ya, lumba lari, kan, dia menang nombor 1 sampai-sampai dia pengsan terus. So itulah dia. Jadi ini Albert Bandura ni nama yang terkenal lah dalam yang berkaitan dengan self-efficacy ni, ya, dalam pendidikan. Ya. Dia kata apa? People's beliefs about their abilities have a profound effect on those abilities. Kalau kita percaya pada diri kita, keupayaan kita, kebolehan kita, dia akan mempunyai impact yang tinggi. Biasa kadang-kadang orang ada apa dipanggil apa? Apa istilah tu, ya? Maknanya dia ada self-doubt, ya. Imposter.
Insting ke apa?
Ya.
Bukan insting lah.
Bukan. Imposter punya syndrome. Imposter. Ya. Imposter. Maknanya dia self-doubt. Dia sentiasa meragui diri dia. Sentiasa dalam kepala dia ragu. Can I do it? Or am I the right person to do this? Do I have the ability? Do I have the skill? Do I have the qualification? Do I look good? Self-doubt, hesitation. Dia tak ada dia punya strong self-belief.
Tak yakin diri sendiri pula, tak yakin lah.
Sendiri. Dia tak ada
kurang keyakinan.
Dia aku boleh punya sikap. Dia bukan growth mindset, dia tak ada growth mindset. Dia fixed mindset. Oh, saya bukan tech savvy. Prof boleh lah. Prof memang hebat orang teknologi. Kan, saya tak tech savvy, jadi saya online ni not for me. Saya banyak dengar benda ni. Banyak dengar. Ya. Dia kadang-kadang dia bangga pula Dia bangga kata, oh saya tak tech savvy. Oh saya social media ni memang saya tak ni lah. Okey, tak apalah. Kan, saya iPad ni pun phone apa semua ni kan. So kadang-kadang ya kita fikir macam tu kan. So remember, ability is not a fixed property, kata Al-Bandura. There is a huge variability in how you perform. People who have a sense of self-efficacy bounce back from failure. Ini orang yang bounce back from failure ni, dia ada self-efficacy yang tinggi. They approach things in terms of how to handle them rather than worrying about what can go wrong. Nanti apa orang kata? Selalu fikir macam tu kan. Nanti apa orang kata? That kind of attitude. So finally, this book, 4 parts. We have covered 7 principles, how learning works. So the learning principle also apply to teachers because, as the authors put it, when it comes to teaching, most of us are still learning. The authors state, learning to improve one's teaching is a process of progressive refinement, which, like other learning processes, is informed by the learning principles outlined in this book. Jadi tuan-tuan dan puan semua, a clear understanding of all the 7 principles would help us teachers to see why certain teaching approaches are or are not supporting students' learning. It can help us to figure out what works, what doesn't work. So the 7 principles, kalau kita faham betul-betul, would generate or refine teaching approaches and strategies that more effectively foster student learning in specific contexts and the students are able now to transfer and apply this principle to new courses. So everyone, thank you so much. Buku ni saya ada buat review, ya. Saya ada buat book review yang saya hantar, saya publish dalam Journal of Food Science Education. Ini dia. Kalau nak download, saya ada bagi link dalam Facebook The World of Academia. Kalau you all ada dalam Facebook tu, saya ada bagi link untuk download. Nanti saya tengok dalam Facebook tadi, mungkin saya boleh copy the link. Allah, mana dia Facebook? World of Academia. Okay, pagi tadi saya share ni, link to my book review. Okay, saya copy ni. Bagi siapa yang di sini dalam grup, dalam webinar ni, saya nak galakkanlah bagi siapa yang belum join Facebook ni, bagi siapa yang on Facebook, join dah grup ini sebab saya banyak share semua benda-benda yang berkaitan dengan teaching and learning, ya, AI dan sebagainya dalam grup ini. So now saya share dalam chat box ni, bagi siapa yang berminat untuk download.
Prof, Facebook tadi apa? Prof Karim je? Tadi Facebook yang tadi. Kalau siapa nak join. Prof bagi link terus senang. Kalau nak join tadi, Facebook tadi. Ni.
Ini dia. Ya. Ini dia, saya copy.
Bagi link ni.
Okey, tu dia. Siapa yang berminat? Saya harap semua berminat lah, ya, sebab siapa yang ada Facebook, joinlah grup ini. Sebab dalam grup ni, semua saya share, almost every day saya update, ya, semua benda-benda yang berguna, yang berkaitan dengan teaching and learning, benda-benda baru, ya, ideas, resources, macam-macam saya share. Saya cuba promote unit 10 TLC juga dalam ni, ya. Jadi join lah supaya kita sentiasa jadi metacognitive teachers, self-directed, self-regulated, ya, kita sentiasa terkini dengan ilmu kita, dan ini akan dapat dimanfaatkan dalam kita punya course dalam untuk pelajar-pelajar kita, ya, the world of academia. If you want to change the world, start by changing your classroom. Itulah message dari saya daripada webinar ini, daripada buku yang saya sangat suka, sangat saya refer selalu, How Learning Works. Kita telah cover 7 research-based principle dalam 4 bahagian. The next thing to do is to digest all this and start to apply, at least starting from the first principle dulu. Ya, mana-mana pun boleh sebenarnya, tapi ambillah mana-mana tapi start dulu. Buat sikit-sikit, ya. Buat sikit-sikit. Jadi itu saja.
Prof, ada komen tu dia DS Halimatun.
Mungkin metacognitive learning perlu dimasukkan dalam kos konten khusus yang bersesuaian untuk pelajar juga. Jadi pensyarah dan pelajar sama-sama berusaha untuk membaiki diri. Kos konten khusus yang bersesuaian. Maksudnya khusus bersesuaian ni macam mana? Kalau mungkin Dr. Halimatun boleh bagi sedikit pencerahan mungkin.
Puan Halimatun boleh on mic.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, ya.
Ni dah makcik dah ni. Klasik series dah. Rasanya elok kalau misalnya kata masing-masing kita memperbaiki diri kita kan. Jadi makna pensyarah pun ada inisiatif, student pun ada inisiatif. Jadi kita try to complement each other. So insyaAllah mungkin dalam mana-mana khusus yang khusus MPU ke ataupun khusus yang bukan technical subject lah kan.
Ya, betul. Bagi pensyarah, ruangnya dah macam yang webinar yang kita buat ni lah kan. Tapi itulah, bila kita buat webinar seperti ini, yang datang pun bukan berapa orang kita pagi ni?
35 orang.
Around that figure lah kan, 20-30. Sedangkan kita ada 400. Bayangkan kalau another like 300 plus lecturer kita yang sampai sekarang pun tak aware tentang konsep of the 7 principle tadi tu, dengan konsep self-directed learner dan sebagainya. Bagaimana kita nak mengubah sebab kita tak aware. Bila tak aware ni, kita akan go through the day by day, day to day punya. Ni macam biasa jugalah, business as usual. Jadi ruang untuk pensyarah adalah program seperti inilah yang TLC anjurkan. Ya. Kalau nak harapkan mereka menonton rakaman 2 jam tu.
Tengok rakaman.
I doubt kan. You need to have very high motivation. I boleh tengok 2 jam punya webinar because kalau I betul-betul berminat nak belajar, I can watch. Tapi berapa kerat kan? Dan untuk pelajar pula. Saya tanya soalan ini. Di mana ruang untuk pelajar untuk learn all these things? To learn how to become self-directed learners. To learn to learn how to learn, for example. Because kalau setiap orang tahu teknik how to learn, jangan anggap kita dah ada PhD ni, kita tahu all the techniques how to learn or have the skill to learn how to learn tau. Probably kita adalah to some extent we are independent learners sampai tahap ini. Tetapi sebenarnya ada banyak lagi benda yang mungkin kita tak tahu. Apatah lagi pelajar. Jadi di mana ruangnya? Kita perlu bertanya soalan ini dan kita perlu bekerja dengan bahagian pelajar perkembangan pelajar dan sebagainya untuk memasukkan elemen-elemen ini. Kalau dalam MPU contohnya, ya, ataupun dalam ruang-ruang yang lain, kita boleh buat bootcamp. Ya, I believe in bootcamp atau summer, kita panggil summer school kan. Bootcamp 2 minggu ni, kita boleh dedahkan pelajar dengan macam-macam benda. Tapi kita kena buat on consistent regular basis lah. Because bootcamp ni kalau kita buat 2 minggu, because I've experienced pergi kepada bootcamp ni untuk belajar satu-satu skill ni, memang kita boleh dapat skill tu. Tapi kena ada daya usaha atau inisiatif lah daripada pihak-pihak tertentu. Atau kita sebagai pensyarah ada mencipta ruang itu untuk pelajar kita. Kita tak usah tunggulah katakanlah tunggu TLC buat ke, tunggu HEPA, bahagian awal pelajar buat ke, Unit 10 buat ke. We ourselves can take that initiative. Kita carilah ruang dalam kelas kita dalam satu semester tu. Ada ruang di mana kita kata okey, saya nak cakap sikit pasal apa ni, how you can become a better learner, how you can become an independent learner. Kita carilah ruang sedikit sepanjang semester tu, ya. Kita ada peranan kita juga. Tak perlulah kita tunggu TLC, perlu tunggu Unit 10, kita perlu tunggu TNC akademik buat program untuk pelajar. Yang tu okeylah. Tapi at our level, something that within our control, try to do something, ya. Okey, ada lagi Dr. Zaman daripada chat. So alhamdulillah, adalah kita dalam 30 orang di sini dalam ni, supaya apa ni, kita kalau boleh tolonglah kita kempen sikit kepada kawan-kawan kita. Ataupun kita kata macam ni lah, TLC ni program ni baguslah, jomlah kita ramai-ramai kita sokong program TLC dan kita dapat manfaat. Nanti kita boleh buat banyak lagi dalam kita punya teaching and learning. Kita perlu ada that kind of motivation dan juga desire to aspire to do well, to do better for our students and for Unit 10. Kena ada spirit, semangat kebersamaan itu untuk memberikan kecemerlangan kepada Unit 10, ya.
Betul. Okey. So alhamdulillah kita dapat banyak ilmu yang Prof sharing. So beri tepukan pada Prof.
Tak dengar lah.
Gunakan apa tu ni? Gunakan React tu. Tu kan ada tu gambar lah React. So alhamdulillah Prof, memang sangat benefit. So kalau kita sampaikan dengan rakan-rakan kita pun insyaAllah kita menarik minat pada kawan-kawan, kita sharing. Okey, so terima kasih kepada Prof kerana menyampaikan sharing ilmu yang sangat menarik dan kita boleh apply. Dan kita akan fikirkan juga yang SWOT. Personal SWOT tu. So kita akan fikirkan juga nantilah. Okey, dan terima kasih pada sahabat-sahabat semua. So tunggu kita punya webinar akan datang lagi yang akan lagi menarik. Okey bro. So kita sudahi dengan bacaan surah Al-Nas dan tasbih kifara. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alright. Sekian saja. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a nice day.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Okay, bye-bye. Jumpa lagi kita, insyaAllah.
Thank you,
Jumpa lagi.
Prof.